free WagerTalk text club to gain access to free plays and exclusive discounts. Just text WagerTalk to 33222 to sign up and get a $10 coupon to use on WagerTalk.com.
Welcome into First Pitch, WagerTalk's premier MLB betting show. We're going over the Monday night, May 10th card here. I am Drew Martin, your host, joined by Bryan Leonard of WagerTalk.com. Guys, reminder, WagerTalk.com, $9 Monday, all plays discounted to just $9. Bryan, welcome in, buddy. How you feeling this Monday morning?
I'm doing very good when it comes to baseball. I did have a 5% loser in hockey yesterday, but baseball, 6 straight winning days. Go back over the last 3 days, last 7 days, number one on the site in baseball, starting to feel it, and that's a good feeling.
Absolutely, guys. Bryan Leonard, over the last 4 years, number one in baseball at WagerTalk.com. Got off to a little bit of a rough start, but buying low here on Bryan has been the ticket. We talked about it last week. So multiple days of winners. Going to want to check them out. Today's a good day. $9 Monday, WagerTalk.com. Guys, we're breaking down 4 games. We got an Asian baseball quick pick, and then we got best bets at the end of the show. Welcome in. Feel free to join us on YouTube in the chat box. Let us know what you're betting and why. Any comments you want to make, it's all welcome. And if you're watching on replay, feel free to drop a comment below. That does help us out if you smash the like button if you're liking the content. First game up, guys, happy hour special. East Coast game here, NL Central matchup. Cincinnati Reds, Pittsburgh Pirates. We're seeing 7.5 being the total. Reds as high as minus 155 now, depending on what book we're going off of here, Bryan. Mahali going for the Pirates. We get Keller going for the Reds. You have any interest here in this NL Central first game on the card, Bryan?
Yeah, I had a little interest overnight on Cincinnati, but as you mentioned, we may be getting priced out of it. Tyler Mahle's coming off his worst start of the season, 5 innings, 6 earned runs against Chicago. But before that, he had just been tremendous all season long. I always mention game scores. Your league average is 50. His numbers were 56, 64, 59, 77, 56. He's just been one of those guys the last couple of years, came out of nowhere, really. In 2019, he had a 5.14 ERA, but the last couple of years, he's really been a lot better. He's one of those guys for Cincinnati that you do look to back when he's out there, because I don't think, a lot of people bet starters based on history, and a lot of people just don't keep up with Tyler Mahle. The concern is the Cincinnati bats. Last 4 games they played in the American League, 2, 3, 1, and 0. So the offense is struggling right now, going against Mitch Keller here, who's coming off his best start of the season at San Diego, 5 2/3 innings, no earned runs, a 68 game score. Keller's one of those guys that has the ability to pitch well. He's just had a problem with it. Last year, he only pitched 21 innings, but he was very good. But in 2019 and this year, he's had a problem so far. But Pittsburgh's first game back from a road trip. They went to San Diego and Chicago. But Pittsburgh's still overplaying what we all thought they should do coming into the season. But now they've got some injuries on that team. Some guys are being pushed back, some other guys being hurt. I prefer Cincinnati in this game, but the line may keep me away.
Yeah, a little pricey on the red side. Guys, this is actually my best bet, so going to hit it at the end of the show here. So want to stay tuned for that. We got Jessica, Abby in the house, Abel as well. All welcome in. Paco, Healy, McGinnis, Proud Babylonian, all you guys welcome in. And best of luck today. Hopefully find you some winners on the card. Second game up here, guys, staying on the East Coast. AL East matchup, a good one here, Bryan. We get the Boston Red Sox and the Baltimore Orioles. This one in Camden Yards. Looks to be a total of 9. Boston now I'm seeing minus 136 to as high as minus 143 here. So I guess you could say the Orioles taking some money as the dog. We get Lopez going for the O's and Perez, the lefty, going for the Red Sox here, Bryan. What are we thinking here in this AL East matchup? 7-10 first pitch.
Yeah, it's a game for me where I'm slightly surprised by the way the overnight money came in on Baltimore here. All the stats point towards Boston, other than you'd have to back Martin Perez. And that's something you rarely see me want to do in a situation where I've got Martin Perez and I'm laying in this game. But this is my actually only game I have today, and it is my best bet. You want me to talk about it now, or should we wait till the end?
I guess we could wait till the end. Yeah, I'm waiting till the end on the first game, so I guess the second game,
Okay.
if it's your best bet, we can wait till the end, Brian. That sounds like a good way to go about it. I will say this, towards the Orioles side, I guess they do have the slightly better bullpen, but both teams against the handedness of the pitcher, Brian, have really had success here. So this total of 9, obviously a hitter's park here in Baltimore. It looks like the wind coming in from left, but not too strong, 7 or 8 miles per hour, 63 degrees in Baltimore. I kind of like the over here, just question marks with both starting pitchers and the success that each lineup has had against, lefties for the Orioles, righties for the Red Sox. That's why I'm looking towards the over. But guys, probably going to want to ride with Bryan here because it is his best bet, and he's been hot on the Diamonds. So he's got a nod here for the Red Sox and O's coming up at the end of the show. Third game up here, Bryan. Hit it now. Heading out west, or at least most of the way towards the West Coast. San Diego Padres, Colorado Rockies. Wanted to bring this one up because it's a fascinating handicap approach with the Padres making the trip here to a Mile High. Rockies' first game back to Colorado, 9.5 being the total here, Bryan, minus 175. Padres as the road favorite. Lamet going for the Padres. He's a come after you guy, 95 miles per hour, hard slider. Good kind of profile of what I look to bet on anyway, Bryan, when betting on pitchers in Colorado. Sensatella going for the Rockies here. We're seeing the Padres minus 175 favorites, total of 9.5. What are you liking here? Padres and Rocks tonight, Bryan Leonard.
Yeah, you made a really good point on players that you want to bet on when they're pitching in Colorado. The guys that are more junk pitchers, guys that rely on curveballs, you just don't get as much movement in Colorado because of the thin air. So the only problem with the guys throwing the fastballs is the ball will go farther. And that's the problem when you get up in that air for Colorado. Colorado's basically, though, when you take a look at that stadium overall, they're not a home run park. It's just a wide range of doubles and triples is really what you look at when you're playing in Colorado. So that's something to keep in mind here. But you take a look at the pitchers in this game, and obviously it's a situation where I much prefer the Colorado pitcher here in this contest. The San Diego pitcher in this contest. But Colorado is one of those teams that they're 10-8 at home, 2-14 on the road, and as far as I can remember, that's basically how you handicap Colorado. Most teams, every once in a while, you'll see a team that is really good at home or really good on the road, and it just switches off. Like every year is somewhat different. Not Colorado. That's a team you want to fade on the road, and when you get a chance, you play them at home. I don't know if I want to play them here against San Diego, team that's much better here. But the line definitely is a situation where if you like Colorado, you're getting some nice value here. To me, it's not a game I'm really interested in. Both teams on the road their last time out, so first game back for Colorado. You take a look at the Colorado offense. Some games they've played very well. Other games they've just been shut out. In fact, they've been shut out in 2 of the last 3 games on the road in St. Louis. But they are back home. And you always have to take a look at Colorado at home because I think you get a little bit of value just because of how bad they've been on the road. A lot of people just think that's plain old Colorado, but it's the one team in the league. I think you've got to handicap them differently when they're home and on the road. And I see slight value on Colorado here, but I don't know if I'll get here.
Bryan, I was going to bring up the weather in this game because it does look like low 40s in rain a mile high here in Denver. And actually, we're getting some help from the chat box right now. Brandon, Paco, all saying this game is canceled. So chat box helping us out here. And this game actually might not happen, Bryan. So I was going to make a case, bringing up the bullpens here with the Padres having a great bullpen, the Rocks near the bottom. But just in a handicapping angle with Colorado, Brian, because you were touching on some good points there. It's not necessarily the home runs in Colorado. It's the square footage of the park. It's the biggest park in terms of how much, land is out there in between the fences. So therefore the doubles and the triples happen so much more, and singles, because there's so much more, land to cover out there. But Brian, all that, it looks like, at least according to the chat box here, and a lot of good handicappers in the chat box, this one's canceled, buddy.
Yeah, I'd heard that there's going to be some snow in Colorado and it may be canceled, but I hadn't seen it come up at this point. I do want to point out, from a defensive standpoint, based on the sheer acreage out there, you'll notice Colorado plays a lot of fast players in the outfield. A lot of other teams can get away with playing a bad outfielder in left and right. Colorado has to play fleet of foot outfielders because of that. And a lot of them over the years have not been very good hitters. So if you see some injuries in the Colorado outfield and they would have to put somebody out there that isn't Tapia or what's his name? Can't think of his name offhand. Charlie
Blackmon. Yeah.
Yeah. Those kind of guys out there, then you could see some really higher games, even though it's on the defensive end because of the wideness these players have to cover out there. So keep that in mind in the future. But that's one of the things that Colorado is stuck with, is they cannot put one of these outfielders that a lot of teams do out there because they just can't cover that type of ground.
Yeah, we got Abby saying snow in Colorado in May. That's unusual. I don't know, Brian. How good are you in terms of weather projection here? Is this really that unusual?
I don't know. I've got cousins that live in Colorado, and I've talked to them in the past about it. And they go, "It really doesn't snow that often." I go, "Yeah, sure it doesn't." So I don't know. I've been there. I've been there in the middle of the summer. Beautiful. It's in the summer. It's beautiful. I love Boulder, Colorado. But yeah, I don't go places that it snows anymore. I'm out of Cleveland for good, man.
Okay, yeah, I don't blame you. I've been spending my time in Nevada and Florida, and I'd like to visit the cold. So I'm not a weather specialist on snow either. But feel free to add anything in here. And it sounds like Abby saying snow in Colorado in May. That is unusual, so I'll take her word for it. We got one more game, guys. We got the Asian baseball play and best bets at the end, which we've been holding out the analysis and the pick on for at the end of the show. But staying out west here to the West Coast, we get the Texas Rangers and the San Francisco Giants interleague matchup here to end it. We get Kyle Gibson and Alex Wood, the lefty, going for the Giants. Looks like the Giants now minus 145 favorites, so taking money throughout the morning here, Brian. 7 or 7.5 being the total. You can shop around for either number depending if you're looking for the under or the over here. Any interest in getting involved with the Rangers and Giants tonight, Brian?
Yeah, I kind of like the under here. I was hoping to play first 5 under, and the 4 didn't last long. It went to 3.5, so I think the better value may be on the under for the entire game. Obviously would prefer the 7.5, but I saw it earlier at Pinnacle. Then they changed it back to 7, so it's bouncing around 7.5. It's gone up a little bit overnight. Alex Wood's one of those guys that when he's healthy, I want to be part of an Alex Wood start. This year his game scores have been 63, 77, 63, 51, all over league average of 50. 1.96 ERA in his 23 innings, and he's only allowed 2 home runs. Kyle Gibson, his first start of the season, he was not good. He looked great in spring training. And in his first start, he comes out with a 21-game score, goes a third of an inning, gives up 5 earned runs. That's not a precursor for a good season there for Kyle Gibson, but since then, he's just been tremendous. Game score 67, 64, 80, 59, 63, 70. You can't ask for much better out of Kyle Gibson, a guy who doesn't strike out a lot. And to see a guy of that magnitude reaching less than a strikeout per inning is pretty impressive. That means he's got really good stuff. Both these offenses are a little bit better than what they've gotten credit for, especially Texas. Texas is a team now, when you take a look at the WRC+, they're actually better than average. San Francisco's a little bit better than average. But I think the situation with these pitchers, they're going to go pretty long. We've seen Wood, 2 of his last 3 starts, has gone 97. Last night out for Gibson, 107 pitches. So both of these starters should go through 6 innings, which means the aces of the bullpen will come in here. I like the under here a little bit.
Brian, I don't disagree with you at all. I like the under too, and you can shop around at 7.5, mainly because both of these pitchers have been really good. Alex Wood, we've kind of known about for a while now, Brian. Not a guy that's going to blow you away with a lot of velocity, but he is really good. The former Georgia Bulldog here from the state of Georgia, played for the Braves, and then, now obviously out here in California. He's a guy that can change speeds very good, Brian. Good changeup. In Gibson, you brought up the fact he got blown away in his first start, but since then, he's actually been really good. His arsenal's changed. He's added some new pitchers here. I have both of these guys as circled as bet on. The only problem with the under here, Brian, is both of these offenses have woken up of late. I mean, if you go by WRC plus, which I know you do in the analytics here, San Francisco Giants over the last week are the number 1 hitting team in all of MLB, and Texas is top 5 as well. So going against, really hot lineups is something that worries me. So I haven't bet it to the under, but like you said, I look towards the under. And overall, Brian, I'll throw it back to you for conclusion here. These two teams, in terms of side betting, Texas and the San Francisco Giants are 2 of the most profitable teams in MLB, 2 of the top 5 anyway. Really surprising out the gate so far this season, which makes me think, I want to bet on that type of profile in MLB betting. When teams coming in were, San Francisco Giants, nobody thought that they'd be number 1 in the NL West here. I mean, they're in the same division as the Padres and the Dodgers, and we're almost, 20% through the season, and we still have the San Francisco Giants, the top of the division. Watch out when that's the case, and sure enough, they're up, 6 units on the year. Texas is a 500 team. The Rangers, I remember doing these previews, and we had Koken on, you were on, Steve Merrill, and we were all kind of like, the Rangers, this is going to be a rough year. Sure enough, they're 500. They're up 7 units on the season, Brian. If you've been betting Texas every game this season, you've been making some money. So both of these two teams going up against each other, I'd rather them be playing somebody else because I'd want to bet on them. I guess my question to you is, how much does that affect your handicap? And do you actually think the Giants here in the NL West have a puncher's chance to end the season at the top of the division, or do you think both the Dodgers and the Padres are going to reel them in?
Yeah, I'm not going to come out and say that San Francisco is going to win this division. They can finish 3rd. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad accomplishment. And Texas was a team that I said I didn't like early in the season, but I liked some guys I had in the minors. So as the season went on, I thought I'd be able to make some money in that regard. But they've come up and played a little bit earlier, but better earlier than I thought. And I talked about this in another show I was on earlier today. Teddy Covers mentioned the situation with the weak opposition he's faced. And yeah, he has faced some weak opposition, Colorado twice. He hasn't faced the elite. I don't think Texas is in that regard yet, but it is something to keep in mind. But I still think the under here is probably the way I would look at this one.
Okay, good stuff from Brian Leonard. And guys, that's the 4 games here. And I think actually, we really appreciate everybody hanging around. We had some tech difficulties to start the show, but I think we got it figured out here with our 3rd guest. You guessed it, Mr. Tony Finn. Tony, do we have your audio and video ready to go, man? Welcome in.
I've been told you do, but then that's not a given considering I'm the operator. So. No, I did some upgrades to the system this weekend. I should have assumed that I needed to test it more. And seems like we have a fixed temporarily for right now, at least. So sorry, guys. My apologies.
Hey, well, we got you loud and clear now, Tony. We already have gone through 4 games here. I mean, you got the games we're going over. And keep in mind, we do have your best bet for the end of the show, so hold on to that one. Is there any kind of, top of the mind things you wanted to throw out here for sports handicappers here, the MLB bettors watching right now, of any tidbits you wanted to throw out that might help them grab some winners with the 4 games we broke down?
Well, I'll tell you what. And so I don't drag this out and bore anybody, I'll just go real quickly. Obviously, our initial game that comes up today, the first one that's a little bit of an aberration as far as time goes, the 3:35 my time, Vegas time or 6:35 start in Pittsburgh. In truth, you won't hear it much, but if you asked me, if you sat down with me across the table or across the bar and said, Tony, what's your thoughts of Molly and the Reds? I would tell you the same thing I think you two may also say, and that would be hitting the ball or started on fire. Obviously, some of their peripherals, some of their numbers that they currently own are due to that red-hot start they had. But they still are head and shoulders more capable of hitting the baseball with power, et cetera, than Pittsburgh. All you have to do is look at where they rank slugging-wise, and that is at a bare butt bottom of the league. And much of it's because they're not understanding the strike zone, and they're not getting the walk, and they're not hitting for extra base hits. If you look at their runs to extra base hits ratio, you'll see second worst in all of baseball, the first being Detroit. So that should say enough. As far as we go down the list, I didn't have a big opinion on Weaver in Miami, mostly because some of the things you mentioned through on our office communications, and that was that they're really late putting lines out. I understand why or at least I have an idea why they are. Boston and Baltimore, I would have leaned Boston here, but Baltimore continues to surprise me, and Boston does not surprise me. And that is, if you look at their offensive peripherals, they're really good, but they seem to come in bunches, guys. It seems to me, I looked at some of the scores, they either seem like they're scoring double digits, but they're not scoring. So I don't like that in an aspect of a gamer or of a handicapper, because it makes it difficult to. You want more consistency. At least I do. In the game you guys were just talking about, the Gibson and Wood, it doesn't surprise me. Does Wood ever surprise either one of you guys? Sometimes it's just amazing. He gets traded. I'm assuming right now, you think the Dodgers would like to have Wood back, pitching the way he's pitching? He's throwing harder than he's throwing hard. Yeah, he's throwing. His velo is what it was 3 years ago, which is really a big deal for a guy that only throws 90, 91, and when he's hitting 93 on the gun, that's a big deal for a guy that has that differential between his fast, his two-seamer, and his changeup. Gibson, he's a guy that, listen, that's the surprise here, really, isn't it? He's been so inconsistent. Again, he hasn't played for clubs that could help him overcome some of his liabilities, but Texas is up those units, Drew, and I heard you talking, and I thought to myself, I said the same thing to myself yesterday, then I looked at their schedule, and I will tell you right now, so a lot of those units that are up are because I believe they've played some competition that they're capable of staying in touch with, through the innings and maybe pulling out a late victory. They've hit the ball pretty well. They still have some issues pitching, though. So, I mean, that in a too long dialogue, that's my rough capsule of what is a condensed baseball schedule for tonight.
Hey, that works, Tony. Appreciate it. And we got Abel in here reminding us it's Mother's Day south of the border in Latin America. So any of our Hispanic watchers, reminder to call your mom. And yesterday was Mother's Day here in the United States. So if you didn't, shame on you. But maybe you can make up for it with a call today.
I tell you what, I'll drive down to Mexico, call my wife, and say Happy Mother's Day. And I'll stop if you want and have a couple drinks.
That might work, actually. Stopping in Tijuana, having a couple Coronas. That sounds right up your alley, Tony. And I remember you telling stories, and some of the watchers will, of doing that, being kind of on the other side of the counter, maybe in Tijuana, Mexico. I wanted to ask you, actually, why is it for some of these games? And guys, we had other games scheduled, the D-backs and the Marlins to talk about here, but the pitchers aren't out, so that's the obvious reason, Tony. But also, pitchers haven't been out by this time in days past for the season, and the sports books will still have numbers. Maybe you can't put up the same limits here, but why is it, to your knowledge, that the numbers aren't out right now? Because this is the first time this season we've had Major League Baseball games scheduled with no numbers at this time of day. I mean, it's after 2 o'clock in the Eastern time zone, and there's no numbers on some of these games. Do you know why that is?
Well, I mean, I inquired about that. I have for the last 2 weeks, but most of it's still precautionary. And the fact, in many cases, guys, I don't know about you, Drew, or you, Brian, but I rarely put up overnights anymore because I'm just not comfortable. I've been wrong in what I assumed or the information I received about so many games, not so much in Major League Baseball, has been in the NBA, which is what it is. A big part of my handicapping is done through sources and through beat writers that give me really good intel, and I can put overnights up confidently. Now I don't do it because some of it's because of COVID, guys. Some of it's because this is a big adjustment. If you've seen injuries in pitchers, a lot of it has to do with that 60-game sprint we had last year, and these teams wanting to go to 6-man rotations, et cetera, et cetera. The odds makers are not as confident as they typically are with managers, with teams using what has been traditionally a 5-man rotation. And there's questions right now about some delays and whether a couple teams are actually going to use what they said they were going to use, and that's a 6-man rotation. And one of those was Miami as well. So no line right now. I'm seeing there's one from DraftKings, which I consider an outlaw line, the only one standing up there on Miami, Arizona as well. The LA Angels and Houston. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, Brian, anything real quick before we get to best bets in terms of, kind of the lag here of getting numbers out from the sports books?
Well, I could see why the Miami line isn't out, because if they put somebody on a shorter week, they've got 4 excellent starters for Miami. And if they treat it as if it's a bullpen game and they put it out at a certain number, then all of a sudden we see one of their aces in the lineup, they could really get hurt. So that's for that. As for the Angels, at this point, I don't know. To be honest with you, Tony touched on this for the NBA. I started 40 years ago handicapping the NBA. That was how I got into this industry. And it's gotten to the point anymore where it's hard to handicap the NBA early in the day. In fact, I hardly put out many plays. When it gets to the playoffs, when I know everybody's going to be playing and none of this rest shit, I know who's going to be playing, so I can come back and handicap the NBA again. But right now, how does anybody feel confident in that regard, especially when you're putting up plays overnight or earlier in the day? I just can't do it. Unless I know who everybody's going to be playing, I just can't release something to my clients not knowing that information.
Gotcha, Brian. A lot of handicapping knowledge on this show with Tony Finn and Bryan Leonard. Brian, 6 straight winning MLB days. Great day to check them out at WagerTalk.com. Guys, it's $9 Monday. All plays discounted to just $9. Check out sportsmemo.com as well. Time for best bets, but first, going to throw it over to Tokyo Brandon on the other side of the world here for the Asian Quick Pick. So Tokyo Brandon, take it away.
Tokyo Brandon here with today's Quick Pick in Asian baseball. Today we're going back to the KBO, where LG is going to Kia. Casey Kelly gets the start for LG, while Daniel Mengden, the guy with the stash, gets a start for Kia. I have Casey Kelly ranked slightly higher than Daniel Mengden because of his low walk rate. He doesn't strike out a lot, but he walks very few batters. In this game, I have LG with the starting pitcher advantage, the bullpen advantage, and the lineup advantage. So today we're going to go with LG on the money line. I don't think the odds will be that bad. If the odds are that bad, you can take them on the run line, but I'm going to play it safe and take them on the money line. That's the pick for today. LG Twins in the KBO. I'll be back with more. Thanks.
LG Twins in the KBO, guys. For any degenerates out there looking to bet the when you're sleeping in the KBO, Brandon actually sent me a message. He likes the money line up to -150. After that, he says probably better to lay it on the run line with the Twins there in the KBO. So time for best bets, guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in, waiting for us. Sorry about the late start here, but did get it figured out, and hopefully grab you some winners here in the best bets. If you're liking the content, please smash the like button. First up here, Bryan Leonard, 6 straight days, MLB winning days at WagerTalk.com. Brian, where are you going for best bets, buddy?
I just want to touch on Brandon's play. Currently, it's at anywhere from 170 to 180. And I could have given the analysis on that one because I can say LG Twins, and I can also name the American pitchers. I wouldn't have had to worry about mispronouncing somebody's name. So I like that play. As we get to today's play, I do want to point out that I've got 3 plays up for $9 Monday. One is the baseball play. Don't buy it. I'm giving it to you right here as my best bet. And I have 2 hockey plays, including the huge game tonight between Colorado and Las Vegas in hockey. So 2 hockey plays up, and I did lose that 5% player playing hockey yesterday. Ugly loss on Ottawa in that game, and I do apologize for everybody who did buy that yesterday. We'll try to get some of that back for you today. We're going to go back to the Red Sox and Baltimore here. I like this game overnight at -140, and money came in on Baltimore. Other than the due system where Baltimore is trying to salvage 1 game out of the series, I don't understand why money is coming in on the Orioles here. Sure, Martin Perez is going for Boston here, but take a look at what he's done this year. All of his starts have been within 10 points of the 50 average for your game scores. His last 2 starts have been 60 and 51. His only bad start this year was 35 against the White Sox, and we know how well the White Sox rake against lefties. I don't hold that against them. I thought for the most part, considering what we've seen out of Martin Perez over the years, he's having a pretty decent season. Jorge Lopez, on the other hand, he's faced Boston once this year. He went 4 innings, gave up 7 earned runs for a game score of 21. Go over his last 3 years in the majors, 2019, 20, and 21. He's got a 6.5 run ERA basically every season. We know what we get out of Lopez. To me, he's the worst starting pitcher in the major leagues. If you're going to give me a shot to play against Lopez, especially with this red-hot Boston offense, I'm going to take it. Boston on the season against right-handers, 14 and 10. Baltimore against lefties, 5 and 8. Boston on the road, 12 and 4. Baltimore at home, 4 and 13. I just don't see why anybody would want to put money on the Baltimore Orioles in this game. To me, it's a clear-cut favorite on Boston, and we're getting a better line than overnight. It's my best bet.
Yeah, less than $1.40 now, guys. Near -135 on the Red Sox. Good against righties, hot right now. I like it, Brian. Going up against arguably the worst starter in MLB. Good analysis there, Brian. Tony Finn up next. Better late than never, Tony. Where are you going for best bets, buddy?
I want to go out to the Bay Area, and we'll talk about San Francisco and Texas, as I mentioned to you earlier. The matchup looked to be a surprise. You guys even spoke about it while I was trying to correct my technical issues, how if you talked about the units these 2 teams were up. Again, they're up units because for completely different reasons, guys. In my opinion, San Francisco's done this with pitching. Sometimes Texas has done it with hitting. They too are inconsistent, but both teams are up units, as you mentioned, Drew, because I think some of it has to do with competition and some of it has to do with timely hitting. Obviously, Wood's a bit of a surprise. Granted, the discussion that Bryan had with Teddy is accurate. I mean, 2 of his wins have come Miami, and 2 have come against Colorado. The latest at Colorado. Now, what he did entering that game, or where he is right now, is a 1.96 ERA through 4 starts. Opens a 2-game set tonight against the Rangers, and he's gave up 2 runs over 5 innings in his last start against the Rockies at Coors Field. I mentioned that, and I want to mention it again. He's 1-0 with 0.64 ERA and 2 career starts against the Rangers, for what that's worth. But more than anything else, the strikeouts that he had at Coors. Not that Coors Field is a big strikeout place, guys. This is a place that doesn't fit Alex Wood and his soft tossing and the movement on his ball and trying to get that curveball past the hitter, especially in Colorado. I like San Francisco much more than I like Texas long term. I like them much more tonight, also because we're going to a lot of interleague play now, guys. We get interleague play, which means make sure you put the litmus test to your handicapping, and remember that the American League teams won't be having a DH. Now, Texas gets a little less defensive because you'll probably see Gallo move from the DH to right field, right? So I'll take San Francisco at home over Texas. I'll take Wood to be better than Gibson tonight.
I like it, Tony. Guys, I'll finish it off here with the first game on the card. Happy hour special, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. I'm going with the home dog. The Pirates are barking here. Keller, 5 innings, only 2 hits, 5 strikeouts his last time out versus Mahali, 5 innings, 6 earned runs, and 9 hits his last time out. So we're getting the starting pitcher in better form, plus the fact We're getting a top 10 bullpen. Yes, you heard that right. Pittsburgh Pirates top 10 bullpen in MLB. Cincinnati Reds bottom 10 bullpen. So pitching edge here towards the dog. Pittsburgh Pirates plus 139, risk 100, win 139 if the Pirates do win this. That's what I'm got for my best bet. So recap here in the best bets, guys, and finish it off as we got. I'm on Pittsburgh plus 139, Bryan Leonard. You heard it there, the Red Sox minus the price, and Tony Finn, San Francisco. And then we got the Tokyo Brandon on LG tonight in Asian baseball. So for Bryan Leonard, Tony Finn, I am Drew Martin. Guys, huge shout out to everybody joining us. Chat box as well. Paco Healy, Brian Watson, Slim, Steve, all you guys. Jessica, Abby as well. Thanks for all the input here on the live chat. YouTube, Wager Talk YouTube here. And if you're watching on replay, that is always fine. Feel free to leave a comment below. Let us know you watch. Please smash the like button if you're liking the content. And guys, best of luck with your bets. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Best of luck, guys.
With a Wager Talk one-day power pass, you receive every play from every betting consultant for one full day at the ridiculously discounted price of just $149. What's better than spending the day watching and following a great slate of games? Watching, following, and winning those games. Get every Wager Talk expert and every game they release for that day.